Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Classic Motor Hub, and we're here to have a little chat with Mia Flewitt of Flewitt Racing. Now, just a bit of background: Mia's the current reigning champion, I think I can say, of the Pro-Am British GT Championship. So, yeah, we're going to have a little chat about her background getting into cars, into racing, and also for the fantastic charity Race for RP that she's a big supporter of. So, welcome along, Mia.
Thank you.
So a strange year, I think we can all admit, but winding the clock back, tell us a bit about how cars came into your life, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, cars have been in my life for a long time, since I was 19 years old, which is a long time. And when I first started working for Volvo back home in Sweden, and I held a number of different positions. I was always trying to push myself to learn more, and actually my first job was as a forklift driver.
Cool.
And and then moved into logistics. I became a car builder, and so on. And a few years down the line, there was a joint venture between Volvo and Tom Walkinshaw Racing.
That was in the touring cars, am I right saying?
TWR.
Yeah.
Well, it was basically they decided to actually design and build the Volvo C70, which was the first sort of coupe and convertible the Volvo had made. And I came into it then and was part of a small team building these early cars and actually designing the process a bit of how to build it, because it wasn't going to be like a normal line system. It was going to be a more station-based system where basically 9 of us built the whole car. So during that process and the work with TWR, who had great design engineers, who designed the cars, but our job every day was basically to tell them whether this was possible to build. So, and often I found myself in their office going, you can't get your hand in here, you can't, you have to swap tool or talk every, 10 seconds. And so, we need to think about this. And so there was all this talk about, needing manufacturing engineers basically. And eventually, having worked a little bit on the Volvo side as well as on the exterior cars, as, in that sort of not full-on engineering, but like helping to design the process for the exterior of the cars. I got offered basically to work as a manufacturing engineer for TWR, and I did, and then the last project I worked on actually in Sweden was the Renault Clear V6.
I was going to ask you about this. That's one of my favourite cars. I think I definitely lusted after on those in my youth. And
it was super exciting, and I ended up running a small team of engineers, 8 engineers, manufacturing engineers, and we designed a process in Sweden to build what was Series 1 of the Clear V6, which was again basically a Clio Sport. So we basically took this donor car and made what was a front wheel drive, front engine car into a rear wheel drive, mid engine car, and it was a real challenge to drive, I've got to say.
I mean, it's the last of an era though, isn't it? Because there's nothing really, you can't see a manufacturer today going, let's do something that crazy again. It really was the last of the don't say no, just try, let's try and do it.
Just do it. It was a very exciting project to work on as well. It was we really loved it. And then actually once Renault decided they wanted it back in-house for the Series 2, I actually helped them design the process to put it back into their factory in Dieppe. And then I retired, following my husband around the world as we then moved to Germany. But again, both of us being in the car industry all our lives, there's always been, the only thing we do at weekends is go to a racetrack, go to car events, go look at cars, or everything. It's just cars basically.
Sometimes it's the other half's worst nightmare, but it's great that you guys can do it all together,
because that's all we've ever done. And for so many years now, like 30 odd years, and I think it's I never I drove a lot, and for a while I did work as a test driver for Volvo, but I didn't you know, I went to races back home in Sweden as well, but you know, never did I dream that one day I would actually be a racing driver.
So where did that come in? Like, I'm having visions of this sort of kid in Sweden dreaming about being a racing driver. Was it like that, or was it something that just through exposure to cars you just became exposed to?
Exactly. More that actually it started off more that my husband and I wanted to have a hobby that we could do together.
Yeah.
So we decided to buy a historic car and go club racing.
So what was the first one? Which one?
So it was a 1963 Lotus Elan, which we still race.
Amazing, still got it.
And so our first ever race together, or first ever race for both of us actually, was sharing that car in a race to Silverstone in September 2015.
Yeah.
So before then, I had never raced. In the lead up to that, we did have some training. Obviously, we took our RS license. We did sign up with a guy, and we drove an MX-5, which is sort of similar but modern characteristics of a rear-wheel drive small sports car. And so that's how we learned. You know, just did track days basically, and then sort of the same sort of time, I got to say, around 2014. 2015, I did my first ever track day in the McLaren. Yeah. And which was at Donington. And
which McLaren? Which one?
It was a 650S, and the instructor in the car with me, he was giggling, and he was and he basically said, you know, have you ever thought about racing? And I was like, yeah, you know, going. And he said, he meant like, really properly racing, and I'm like, yeah, well, how, you know? Yeah. And he said, well, I think you should, you know, do a few more track days, do a bit of training and see if you like it. So I did like a performance academy course with McLaren in road cars, which was done in the 650. And then progressed into track cars, which was done in the 650 sprint car, which was properly fast, and my first time on slicks, and I loved it. Honestly, it was like,
why have I not done this sooner?
And it's like, and I was trying to figure out how to go racing, basically. But
so there's never a point where you thought, I'm doing this as a hobby, and if I get into it properly, will it sort of become like a job, so to speak, and take the hobby? It was always that.
I think it was more like, you know, I felt kind of ready, maybe more ready, and you know. Also, I could probably was thinking, how can I afford to do this? How can I go racing? And luckily, McLaren decided to set up this pure McLaren GT series. Yeah, which you did for a couple of seasons, didn't you? So that's how I got into to GT racing. Basically, my husband bought me a GT4 car for Christmas only because I threatened I was going to buy a Can-Am car and go racing that. And he didn't want me to race a Can-Am car because he thought I was going to die. So he said, like, you know, this is nice and safe, and you know, you can race this. So I did my first ever GT race in that GT4 2017, September 2017, at Paul Ricard. Finished 4th. I was very annoyed. It was just so like, you're quite competitive. Very annoyed. But that sort of started the whole thing. And then obviously the year after, our first two races, so my first proper two races in the pure McLaren GT series were at Spa. Yeah. And I won both of them. And it was just like, I just thought, like, this is it. This is what I wake up, literally still wake up every morning wanted to go racing. And I am still learning so much, because obviously I've only been racing for a few years, and I race against, you know, 25-year-olds that have been racing for 20 years. Yeah. So, but, you know, I love it. And, you know, and I have a super team around me now, people, you know, my driver coach and my trainer and family, and, you know, everybody's been really, really supportive. But now obviously it's kind of serious, because now you know, it's moved quite quickly. I won a few championships already,
I was going to say, you're being very modest. You haven't mentioned the fact that you won the first season in the Kia McLaren. Then you defended your championship again.
I did, and I mean, like, I probably not many racing drivers can say that, you know, having raced for 3 years, they won 3 championships.
Yeah, I know, it's fantastic.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I also acknowledge that, you know, it doesn't mean I'm a fully fledged, you know, I'm not, you know, I'm still learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I like that in a way.
Yeah.
It's sort of, and I've still got a lot to learn. Because one thing being fast, it's one thing being, you know, a little bit mad so that you can actually do it. But there's so much, and you know, the margins get smaller and smaller. The better you get, the margins get smaller. So that's a sort of challenge. Is constantly the challenge of myself to, you know, get better, learn from everything I do, and I learn every time I go on track. You know, no matter what. And literally this season, I went into this season in British ET this year, not having raced ever in a fully wet race.
Yes, because I was reading on the reports that suddenly you were thrown out in the deep end, and
I've raced all over the world. But like at some amazing circuits, but you know, warm, nice. You know, it's been in Bahrain, or it's been in, you know, Abu Dhabi, or it's been, you know, in Texas, or, you know, race everywhere. So finding myself this year now in these situations where I'm in this, I mean, literally full on torrential storms.
Because I think I read somewhere that there were, because you raced with one of the McLaren factory drivers, you and Hankey. And I think I read somewhere about how he took a call to start a race on slicks, even though everyone else was starting on wets, and you know, and then suddenly, you know, the conditions seemed to go in the cars and the tyres' favour. And then suddenly it came to you, and then the conditions changed, and you were on slicks in the wet. So, as you say, you're always learning whether you want to or not.
Whether you want to, and I've never really been scared on track, apart from then, because it was, and I can hear you and in my ear going, and go faster. And I'm like,
I was fine. You know, it's like the conditions are changing here.
But yeah, it is. Everything is a learning curve. So it is. But you know, we have a great training program this winter as well, and it's a short one, because obviously normally we finish racing in September, and you know, we don't start racing until Easter. So but now because we only finished you know, a few weeks ago, we've got a very short season now to sort of get ready again. So but we got karting planned, a lot of wet weather karting, which is very painful, makes me hurt just thinking about it. But really good training, and you know, training, just physical training as well, and really good program.
And I guess with all the exposure to the racing comes finding the sponsors, but also the opportunities with charities as well. So I guess that so tell us a bit. You're a big supporter of Race for RP. Tell us a bit about it, why you got involved, that sort of thing. So I think everyone would love to know. I'm so lucky with all my partners, I got to say, and you know, because I have a personal relationship basically with all my partners. I don't have a manager. You know, Fluid Racing is me. Which makes it that much easier in a way to deal with, and actually I think this year with COVID and everything, it's actually been better. Because we have had a much closer relationship. I'm not just a number or in their books or whatever. We you know, we have really close connections. So Race for RP in particular, we I've known this lady Nancy and her husband Nelia, who's been racing with us in the Pure Series, but even before the Pure Series we still met at McLaren events. They're big fans of McLaren, and we kind of started chatting, and Nancy's the most inspiring person I know. She's she's just amazing, and she has an amazing family and team around her as well, and they are so engaged. The whole I don't even get out of the car before they've sent me a message, you know, at the racetrack and things like that. They are very involved in everything that we do. That's fantastic.
And it was so Race for RP was started because relapsing polychondritis is quite a rare autoimmune disease, which makes it harder basically to get funding and research and everything into it, and and treatments, and hopefully one day a cure.
Yeah.
And Race for RP have already for a number of years now. It started as Ride for RP, moved into Race for RP, and they actually used motor racing as a way of spreading the word and racing awareness, which I think is a super idea, because one is their hobby as well, so they're always involved, and two, it's a really engaging sport. So I think people, there's always a way of doing a great event, and you can have a track day and invite people, and try and engage the communities that around.
And what better way to engage people in their hobby and around those sorts of things? And
it's amazing. So I've really enjoyed working with them, and hopefully be a small part of raising awareness for relapsing polychondritis. Because there's so many people who do exactly what I do as well. They have a number of drivers who drive for them, and we're equally passionate because they are so lovely. So we all want to help as much as we can, and that was also a reason why we came up with this range of merchandise that we've got, which kindly is on display here at the Motor Hub. So where all the profits from that go to Race for RP to help them a little bit as well. So
Excellent. And so what does I would have been a harder question a few months ago, what does the future hold, I guess, but now you've got the season's been completed, you and Ewan have come out on top. Is there a plan for next year? Are you going to stick with GT4, or do you think there might be
Well, I'm still keeping my fingers crossed. There might be a little jump into a GT3 car, but and I'm not going to give up until I know that's not possible. So talking to all my sponsors at the moment, just making sure that we know and everybody's that we're all aligned what we're doing. So but yeah, definitely it's looking promising for next year, and whatever we do, we will be racing, and we'll be helping to raise awareness for Race for RP and all my other partners. But
and through the merchandise, I think you were saying earlier that you're doing a sort of sale through the website, and it's all about trying to push those things through to help Race for RP, because it's been a tough year. The pits have been empty of fans and spectators who would come along and buy the merchandise. So everyone should get online and have a look, so that we can push those profits to Race for RP, because it sounds like an amazing cause.
Thank you.
And we wish you all the best as well for the racing, and also thank you. You guys always come down to the hub and coming to our events and stuff, so it's nice to have you as part of the hub family, and hopefully one day we'll be in the stands cheering you on when it all starts to return to normality. So thank you so much.
Thank you.